Season 2, episode 41 of the Hall of Fame show. And who else am I going to have but Evan Nolan? How you doing, brother?
Oh, okay. Me? Thanks. I'm just happy to be here. Are there any famous 41s at all that you could think of?
But you're doing good.
Yeah, no, do you know any famous person whose number is 41? Like that's not a number that comes to me for I guess Nowitzki, right? Is he 41?
He is, but doesn't exactly sort of like fit what we normally do.
Oh, hold on. I just looked it up. Tom Seaver.
Well, I like Tom Seaver, but selfishly, Evan and I, we are the co-winners of the United States Athletic Hall of Fame.
We are.
Yeah.
Vote early, vote often, but vote only once a day. That's all you can do.
No, exactly. Yeah. Oh man, it's been an interesting sort of week, wouldn't you say?
Things have happened.
Man, should I open up with my shit box?
Well, do we have any news we need to get to first? Do you think?
Possible. Okay, yeah. You know what? Actually, we do.
Okay, let's do that first before we get to our shit box. So
we do. Here, let me bring this up here because, like, before we sort of like do that, I've worked on the non-Hall of Fame positional awards for baseball.
Oh, yes.
So I'm pretty happy about that. So like while we're looking at that, somebody who I thought is right up there is Salvador Perez for Catcher of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
Any thoughts on that?
Hard to argue that. I mean, didn't he have one of the greatest career, at least offensive years a catcher has ever had in the history of baseball?
He has, yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely, yeah. No, absolutely has. Also, Player of the Year, who I think you know already who the hell that's going to be.
I would say it's someone who is on the list for two different positions.
Go ahead.
Perhaps, yeah. Shohei Ohtani, I'd imagine.
Yeah, Ohtani is not just the Player of the Year in terms of not in Hall of Fame, also the designated Hitter of the Year.
Okay. Interesting. All right.
Yeah. Any thoughts on that?
No, I mean, Ohtani was basically Bugs Bunny from that cartoon this year. Throwing the ball, catching the ball gets hit in the field, he fields everything. So Ohtani, no offense to everyone else who played baseball this year. Some people had incredible years, but this is Shohei Ohtani's year.
Do you think there's anyone who sort of like had any kind of issues with Ohtani sort of like winning because he's going to be the MVP for the American League and just like everything in general?
What do you mean someone having a problem with it?
Or just that? Will somebody have an issue with it?
I'm sure somebody will. People have issues on everything, right? But I mean, it's hard to argue the narrative. Like who else are you giving it to?
The only other person I can even possibly think of is Vladimir Guerrero, and even then, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be one thing if there were like a player on a dominant team that made the playoffs, made it, but neither Guerrero nor Ohtani played a playoff game. Mm-hmm. So, although the Jays were better than the Angels, so I don't think anyone can really have a legitimate gripe about it. I mean, Guerrero can, but Guerrero finishing second in the MVP, I know doesn't necessarily help your career significantly, but it certainly doesn't hurt it either. Although, here's a question for you: would Mike Greenwell to this day says he got robbed of that the 1988 American League MVP because Jose Canseco was on drugs at the time?
Okay.
And Greenwell finished second. If Greenwell wins that MVP and not finish second, does that make a difference in his career as whether or not he makes the Hall of Fame?
For Mike Greenwell?
Yeah.
No.
Of course not. So, I mean, if someone's good, finishing second's not going to have any effect on it. But if someone's not that great, winning the MVP is not going to make a big difference either. So having Guerrero had a ridiculous year. Him finishing second is just going to be one of those footnotes because if Guerrero keeps this up, he's going to win MVP at some point.
Right.
So,
yeah, and I'm a Jays guy, so like for me, this is a pretty big thing for him. But like realistically,
he was literally Ohtani's literally doing things we haven't seen anyone do in over 100 years in baseball.
Literally, yeah.
Literally. It was what 1918, 1919, Babe Ruth with the Red Sox and the Yankees. 1920. That was basically it.
This is like one of those cases where you can say literally and not be exaggerating.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's any problem with Ohtani taking it. So
yeah. All right. So first baseman of the year, as opposed to the first two non-Hall-of-Fame.com, is Vladdy.
Okay. No problem there.
Yep. Teammate Marcus Semien, second baseman of the year.
Interesting. As opposed to who was nominated for the Silver Slugger? Who played no games at second base as the second baseman? I've forgotten that right now.
I don't know.
It was Kyle Seager. I can't remember who it was. There was somebody who's nominated as the Silver Slugger at second base who played no games at second base this year. So.
Well, I have something kind of similar as we sort of go on here when it comes to that. Let's go there. Trey Turner, shortstop of the year, who as soon as he moved to the LA Dodgers, didn't play shortstop.
Correct.
Yeah. But overall, he's our shortstop of the year.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's Justin Turner is the finalist at second base.
Okay, yeah.
And Justin Turner, I do not believe played second base this year.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, sorry. You were saying I was looking that up. I got confused. Go ahead, because he's a third baseman.
No, I was saying like Trey Turner is shortstop of the year for us.
No problem there.
Although as soon as he switched over to the Dodgers, he didn't play short anymore.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
He at least played most of the year. So
he did.
He was nominated for shortstop too.
Yeah, like over 50%.
Yeah.
Of his career. So
no problem.
Yeah. Jose Ramirez is third baseman of the year. Tyler O'Neill, left fielder, because I wanted to do this differently. Left, center, and right.
Okay.
Yeah. So Tyler O'Neill is the left fielder of the year from the Cardinals. Brian Reynolds of the Pirates is center fielder of the year.
Okay.
And who was our right fielder of the year? Juan Soto. Barely beating out Bryce Harper.
Okay.
Clown question, bro. Yeah. And then with the pitchers, also Ohtani is the hitter of the year. Zach Wheeler, that was a hard one. Starting pitcher of the year.
Okay.
Yeah, because that could have went so many different ways. I also, when we did this, we did first team players and also like 5 first team starting pitchers, 5 second team, and DeGrom, who had only 15 games, is a second team player. Like, oh my God, what he did this year.
He is going to have the fewest wins of any starting pitcher in the Hall of Fame when he gets there.
I agree with you. I totally agree.
Yeah, I'm not sure he'll even have 100. He's got like 71 now.
Yeah, you're not the first person to say that. I think you're right.
I mean, he's just so good. His team is so bad supporting him.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Man. All right. So continuing on, Jonathan Oswaga, I'm probably saying that wrong, is the middle reliever of the year.
Okay.
And Josh Hader is the closer of the year.
That's no surprise there.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, good picks all around. Yeah, I guess the only other news, do you have anything else to say? Because there's one other thing we should probably talk about.
Well, that's what I wanted to open with, because I felt that's something that I haven't done a great job for our site, just saying like, hey, this is what we're doing. So,
Right.
yeah.
Fair enough. Cool. Well, so the other stuff just was in the Rock Hall. A couple things this week. They announced who is going to do the inductions for everybody else.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't know that. Who's that?
So we already knew LL Cool J, Carole King, the Go-Go's, Foo Fighters, Tina Turner.
Mhm.
Oh, you know what? Actually, I'm wrong. I'm reading this wrong. There's a prediction as to who is going to induct the rest. I apologize. I'm wrong.
Okay, but who are they? That's fascinating to me.
Hold on one second here. Okay. So, because we know who the people who are going to be doing the inductions are. We just don't know who they are inducting, correct?
Mhm.
So left we have the predictions we had here was that Beyonce was going to induct Jay-Z. Brian Adams for Todd Rundgren, Tom Morello for Gil Scott Heron, excuse me. I always want to say Heron, but it's Heron. Ozzy Osbourne for Randy Rhoads, H-E-R or her, or however you pronounce it. I'm not hip enough to know exactly how she pronounces that. For Billy Preston, Jack White for Charlie Patton, and Big Boy for Kraftwerk, which would be interesting.
Ooh, okay.
So, I was actually very excited. There was a Kraftwerk sketch on the Great British Baking Show this week, which was kind of funny. I've never actually seen a Kraftwerk sketch before, so it's actually kind of enjoyable. But anyway, yeah. So that was one thing. The other thing about the Rock Hall, did you hear Cameron Appice today, or Appice, how you say his name?
Yeah, actually, I saw something towards. I didn't read the whole thing, but apparently he was insulting the Go-Go's. But
yeah, insulting the Go-Go's.
Yeah.
And saying that he didn't understand how the band Cactus wasn't in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Okay, I missed that completely. So he went with Cactus and the Go-Go. Okay, all right.
Yeah. So hold on, let's see. See if I can get the direct quote here. I had it up earlier and then I went off there and I haven't found it back yet. Let's see if we can get it right here. You want to know what the influence was for the Go-Go's. So he's worked. So again, Carmen Appice worked with Vanilla Fudge, Cactus, and Rod Stewart, among others.
Mhm.
If we're not in there by now, we're never going to get in. It doesn't matter. I've been given many awards: Modern Drummer Hall of Fame, Long Island Music Hall of Fame, Classic Drummer Hall of Fame, this Hall of Fame, that Hall of Fame. We've got Rod Stewart in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame twice, Jeff Beck in twice. We've influenced them, and we're not in. It's really a shame. You Keep Me Hanging On was in Quentin Tarantino's last movie. It quadrupled our royalties. Also in Mad Men, the final episode of The Sopranos, many movies and TV shows. I don't think it should be called the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame anyway. It should be called the Musical Hall of Fame. They got rappers in, country and Western singers. Some of them are what I would call wimpy. They're not rock and roll. Show me the list. They asked who he thought was wimpy. He said, show me the list, I'll tell you. You'll know what I'm saying. I thought it was supposed to be by influence. I think the Go-Go's are going in. I mean, come on, what's their influence? Jethro Tull's not in. Vanilla Fudge, Mountain. So many bands that influenced rock and roll aren't in. Kiss is in. They're a combination of Alice Cooper and Cactus. Eddie Van Halen was influenced by Cactus. Cactus should be in there too. We influenced a lot of people. Is Susie Quattro in Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? She influenced Joe and Jet. Okay.
This is a push for Cactus?
Apparently.
Okay. All right. I don't even know what to say to that.
Yeah. So anyway, I just like just the fact this man is on there. I mean, which of the Vanilla Fudge I would be over Cactus, I guess, but like Vanilla Fudge isn't like, it's not even a 30-foot pole. They need a 30-foot pole tied to a 30-foot pole tied to a 30-foot pole just to get within a 30-foot pole of the building. Like, we're not like they're not getting in.
I'm two less 30-foot poles with you, but still, yeah.
I mean, we've been through this Rock Hall Reconsidered project. Has Vanilla Fudge or Cactus come at once?
No. I actually, it's, and you know what? Why you bring that up? I think that you and I should have a conversation with Nick Bombach. Just for
100%. I'd love
just
that
for a separate show.
Yeah.
Just to sort of like do that, like, because we are 2 years away from his project being over.
Which is 2 weeks for those of you at home, because we're in the class of 2019 right now. We
Yeah.
just got those nominees today.
Yeah. So like for people listening and hearing that or viewing, basically it's a really cool project.
It's an awesome project.
Yeah. So Nick and a couple other people, and I apologize.
Charles Crossley is one of them. I know.
Okay. Yeah. So
I don't know
apologies.
if Tom Lane is or not, but go ahead, continue. Sorry.
Yeah. No, again, because apologies, I may not know all the people involved, but it's basically sort of like looking at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and then just going back from day one and creating their own group.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
and what they're doing differently is because there's the top 40, right? So they're doing a top 40. We all get to vote for 15, and anyone who gets 50% or more gets in, which seems like a low threshold, except for the fact that
but it's
so
not.
many, if you moved it to 60, like 2 people get in. It's ridiculous every single time.
Yeah.
And a couple weeks ago, we had an entire class of first ballots.
Mhm.
Like, and people like who had strong support, like PJ Harvey. No offense to PJ Harvey. I just wasn't expecting PJ Harvey.
Love PJ Harvey. But
a lot of people do. I just wasn't expecting PJ Harvey to be getting the first ballot love, and got over the line very, very easily.
Mhm.
Whereas there are other bands who have been struggling, or I would have thought would be great, and struggle and fall off and everything. And then, and by the way, and then there's a 10-person or 10 group seniors ballot. So let me back up. You're only eligible for 10 years on the main ballot.
Mhm.
After 10 years, you fall off into seniors ballot. Seniors ballot, there are 10 bands. We can vote for 4. And if you have 50% there, you get in as well. And it's been interesting. I joked, like, I don't understand where the Carpenters constituency is. Like, it just never occurred to me that
they want to be close to you, buddy.
I understand.
Yeah.
But birds must have been suddenly appearing while people were voting, because I didn't get it. But like, yeah, there are just some, like, I would never vote for whoever, but I understand why other people do. The Carpenters is this one that stuck out to me like anything. But it's just been interesting seeing like who people consider worthy and who people don't. So someone like, even in this version, like heavy metal acts like Anthrax, for example, has been on and off the ballot over and over again. Because if you fall below 25%, you're not guaranteed to be back on the ballot the next time. And Anthrax, I think, has been on and off like 3 or 4 times, and has had, even if they've stayed on, and they've only gotten like 26, 27% of the vote. And to me, that's an easy vote over and over and over again. So it's just interesting to see. Interesting to see how other people think of things, and like why some people get in and some don't, and everything. It's an interesting to go through it. Other things I've learned, it's really hard to do this correctly, because there are things that I would change about the process, but I don't think I know I would have changed about the process without having gone through this that Nick did. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. And I think when it's all said and done, because like I think we're at that 2018 thing. And Nick, I hope you're listening, buddy, because like we want to have you.
No, seriously, we are massively appreciative of the work you guys have put in. Incredible.
Yeah, for sure. So like we want to sort of like do that a little bit further. Saying that, I guess we should move on to what we do.
Oh, we do something?
Apparently, yeah. Apparently.
We drink and pretend to know things?
Oh, buddy. All right. So like I got Stag here. This is a nice beer from here in Barbados.
It's just for single guys?
But I'm not. I swear, I actually have.
She's not home. She's at work. So at the moment, technically.
No, she's home.
Oh, she's home.
Yeah, she's home.
Wow.
Yeah.
No wonder Jasper was so excited when we picked up here.
Exactly. Yeah. So like moving on, we've got our actual regular things that we do.
It's weird.
Yeah. Who would have thought that we sort of figured that out? One of the things that we do is my shit box. The shit box is, hey, I'm going to like dump on something that has either A, something to do with what we talk about in terms of Hall of Fame, or not. This one does. This one does. So like you and I have talked about, and I didn't tell you what it was going to be. I just know that we're not overlapping.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm super happy with the National Hockey League and what they've done with the Seattle Kraken.
Okay.
Right. Having said that, oh man. If you're going to have your retired number, no, this doesn't work. Did you see that the Seattle Kraken have a retired number already?
I saw that they were bringing up the banner for the Seattle Metropolitans, who are the first American team to win the Stanley Cup back in like 1921. So they're going to have that banner hanging. I have no problem with that happening. Like,
no, okay, but that's what they're doing though. They're putting up the number 32 in terms of like, hey, we're number 32nd in terms of National Hockey League. And
oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah. And it's because like, hey, like when we decided like we're gonna like get a whole bunch of people to like buy some tickets, 32,000 people. And so that's what they went with, number 32. Lame.
Kevin
Lame.
McHale can never play for the Kraken. It's very sad.
No, the whole thing is lame. It's a participation trophy.
It is very much a participation trophy. It's like we still as Patriots fans make fun of the Colts putting up a banner for getting to the AFC Championship game.
As you should. As you should.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because like, okay, so as a Blue Jays fan, I was disgusted when we put up like, hey, look at we have a banner because like we made the playoffs in 1985. No, don't do this. We didn't win shit. Fucking fuck. Sorry, that's how I felt.
I mean, that was probably the first time because they were an expansion team in what, 79 they started? So that's probably the first time. And then they won the World Series in 92 and 93 and got to be World Series champion 3 years in a row because they decided not to have a World Series in 1994.
Right. So. But that's something. Put that up. Don't put up the whole thing. It's like in hockey, it's like, hey, we won the President's Trophy. Fuck off.
Fair enough.
Lame. Don't do this. And I meant this for Seattle. I meant these for Minnesota Wild. And even for a team that's done super well, like Seattle Seahawks with number 12. Lame.
Here's a trivia question for you. Celtics have retired the most numbers in basketball. Who are number 1 and number 2 retired for?
I don't know.
John Brown and Red Auerbach.
Okay. All right. So
the first owner and the coach.
All right, so let's roll with that. All right, because you have a son. I don't have a son.
I do. I have a son who actually won his karate tournament over the weekend.
All right, awesome.
First place. It was his birthday, and he moved up a division.
Okay.
And so he's literally by definition, the youngest person in the division, and he got first place. So
all right, that's cool. All right, so eventually, like at some point in time, because like you live in Chicago, but you're a Boston guy.
100%.
All right. So you might wind up back in Boston. You're gonna like look at those banners and say, "Hey, son, I apologize. I don't know your son's name."
Teddy. That's Teddy.
Okay. All right, Teddy. Look at this. Look at these names. These numbers meant something. No one's gonna do that in Seattle and say like, hey, Dad, were you part of the number 32 that helped build this? No, you weren't. Fuck off.
Yeah. I think it comes down to when we talk to about teams needing at least 25 years to set up their own Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Because it's the same sort of idea with that. And by the way, if you ever fly into Logan and you fly out of Terminal C, I'm pretty sure, as you're going through security, they have all the banners all the Boston sports teams have ever won up in the airport.
That's kind of cool. Really?
Yeah. So all of them. So you go
Awesome.
and they keep adding them. Although it's now been 3 years since Boston has won a championship. So I don't know. It's tough. It's tough times for us again.
No.
Although the Revolution have as good a chance as anyone this year. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, when you say tough times, it's like way better than what we got going on in Toronto.
Oh, I know. I'm kidding. So
nice. All right.
I mean, during my lifetime, I've now seen how many? I've seen 4 Celtics championships, 4 Red Sox championships, 6 Patriots championships, and a Bruins championship. So is that 15? That's not so bad. So
way better than what I got.
And there was a 16-year gap in there between the 86 Celtics and the 01 Patriots. There's 16 full years we didn't win anything.
Yeah, that's true. Huh?
Things were so bad in Boston when Ray Bork won the Stanley Cup with the Avalanche. We held a parade for him. That's how bad things had gotten in 1998. It's hard for people to remember that now because we are the city that everyone loves to hate in sports most of the time. But yeah, it was bad for my teen years. So
shit, that's so true. I forgot all about that. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the best athlete from 1990 to 2000 in Boston was probably Mo Vaughn. other than Ray Bork, right?
God, yeah.
I mean, those Bruins teams are pretty good.
Yeah.
With Cam Neely and Adam Oates and Ray Bork and Glenn Wesley, Don Sweeney, guys like that. Those teams are pretty good.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty good shit box. We'll get back to NHL later. And also remember, I live in Chicago, but I'm a Boston sports fan. You may need that for later as well. So.
All right, so let's go to the
death rattle.
Please, yeah.
Yeah, so this week we didn't have a ton of people who passed away, which is nice. We actually had unfortunately a late ad after I did this earlier this afternoon as another person was announced, or as a death was announced. But well, I guess we'll start in music. So Walter Herbert passed away, who is a musician, but better known as a manager, who was a manager for both Santana and Journey, among other people. He was the Steve Miller Band, Roxette, Europe, Mr. Big, Enough is Enough, and a few others. But just one of those guys who was always around music. I always like talking about the guys in the background of music. He passed away at the age of 73. Robin McNamara passed away originally from Newton, Massachusetts. His original rock band that he formed in 1963 in Boston was named Robin and the Hoods, which is just a great name. But he had one hit, Lay a Little Lovin' on Me, which hit number 11 on the Billboard Hot 100 in 1970 and hit number 6 in Canada. I went and looked it up after he passed away. I have no recollection of that song. But he passed away at the age of 74. The surviving DeBarge brother passed away. Tommy DeBarge passed away. You know, he was with the band DeBarge, of course. Also Switch.
Did he die in the rhythm of the night?
I do not know if he died in Rhythm of the Night.
Sorry.
that was pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. But he was a bassist and singer. He died of liver and kidney failure at the age of 64. For American bluegrass musician, banjo player, and the surviving member of the Osborne Brothers musical duo, Sonny Osborne, passed away at the age of 84. Had lots of hits in the late 60s, early 70s in country music. Also passing away was singer, songwriter, and harmonica player Willie Cobbs, best known for his song "You Don't Love Me," which was covered by, probably better known as a cover. It was covered by the Allman Brothers, the Grateful Dead, Quicksilver Messenger Service, John Mayall and the Blues Breakers, Junior Wells. So all the other covers of it were probably better known than his was, mainly because people thought he may have ripped off Bo Diddley when he composed it. It's very similar to "She's Fine, She's Mine," which is a 50 song, but from Bo Diddley in 1955. But he passed away at the age of 89. And I guess the biggest name in music who passed away this week was Jay Black.
Jay Americans.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whose best song I still think is "Come a Little Bit Closer, You're My Kind of Man, So Big and So Strong." I love that song. But he passed away at the age of, how old was Jay? Is it Jay Trainer? But he went by Jay Black as well. He passed away at the age of 82. He was 11 days shy of his 83rd birthday. He actually died of pneumonia back in Queens. But he had dementia for several years here. So anyway, from the world of football, Mike Lucci, who is a Pro Bowler for the Cleveland Browns of the 60s. Oh, he's actually a Pro Bowler when he's with the Lions, but a Pro Bowler, played with a linebacker with the Browns of the 60s and the Lions of the 60s into the 70s. Passed away at the age of 81. From Bob Newmeyer passed away, who is a NBC. He's a sports broadcaster from the Boston area. He was one of the guys there, but he was NBC's main thoroughbred racing analyst for years and years and years. He had a stroke several years ago, but he passed away from. He was also the play-by-play guy for the Whalers.
Okay.
But he passed away at the age of only 70. He had congestive heart failure and heart disease, but he'd been in hospice for a while. He had all sorts of issues in the mid 60s to the end of his life. So, but Numi's somebody who, if you followed horse racing at all, like whenever they had the Kentucky Derby, he was usually the guy on the track for them, with the broadcasting. We had a couple of actors pass away this week. James Michael Tyler from Friends, best known as Gunther from Friends.
Well, you didn't watch that.
I did not watch. I know who Gunther is, though.
Okay, yeah.
He's the seventh friend.
Okay.
He's the Pete Best of the Friends cast.
All right, yeah. Because like Evan and I, we often said like, you're not a Friends guy.
No, I think Friends is one of the worst television programs of all time.
Damn. All right.
It is.
Fair enough.
But he passed away from prostate cancer at the way too young age of 59.
And kept that to himself.
He did. So
yeah, because
just got married again a few years ago too. So he'd been divorced.
I missed that.
Married. So
yeah,
sorry.
No, I was just gonna say like a year ago, when they had their big Friends reunion, he wasn't part of that, and he just kept that to himself.
Yeah, and of course the one that the actor who hurt me the most here, dying of leukemia at the age of 66, is Tom Hanks's bosom buddy, Henry Desmond himself, Peter Scolari.
Oh shit! I missed that.
Yeah,
he died.
He was only 66. Also had a recurring role on Newhart. It's amazing. I think he play Newhart's son.
Damn.
Did he play Newhart's son? I just remember I did watch Newhart a few times. I can't remember exactly what role he had on that show.
Shit, no, I missed that he died. Crap.
Yeah, he also won a Primetime Emmy Award for his work on Girls. Yeah, he passed away. He was only 66, which sucked. And
shit.
yeah, And I guess the biggest name who passed away, and I would like to say Wikipedia, it's embarrassing how small your entry is for this man. Someone who, as a executive, should get much more thought towards the Basketball Hall of Fame than he did, and he does. Bob Ferry passed away. Bob Ferry was a general manager. Well, he started playing with the Hawks. He played 10 seasons with the St. Louis Hawks, Detroit Pistons, and Baltimore Bullets. Then he became assistant coach and general manager of the Bullets. I was their general manager when they won the NBA championship in 78, their only championship. The executive of the year in 79 and 82. And then retired from after 17 years as their general manager. During his 17 years as general manager, Bob Ferry's teams made the playoffs 13 times. How many times have the Washington Bullets become the Wizards made the playoffs in the 31 years since he left?
5.
Oh, you're underestimating. It seems like that. It's actually
I'm just guessing. Yeah,
it's actually 8.
right.
But he made it 13 times in 17 years, and that franchise has never been the same pretty much since he left. So NBA champ, 2-time executive of the year, first team All-American, first team All MVC. His number has been retired by the St. Louis Billikens, and of course, the father of Danny Ferry, who had a 13-year NBA career and was later general manager himself of both the Cavs and Hawks. But he was 84 when he passed earlier today. So that was the late ad for this whole thing. Again, I don't know if he's a Hall of Famer, but he certainly deserves much more conversation he gets, and he deserves more than literally 7 lines on Wikipedia. So basketball Wikipedia, get on that. Get him more stuff. So
I'm still stuck on Peter Scolari.
Yeah.
No, because I missed that completely.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's the list for the week, and the Beige Mistress was quiet again. So I think it was just a one-off. Sometimes people just die without some bigger plan at hand. So
right. So we have 2 sections left. Mine, which is the how do we put that? I'm still bummed on Peter Scolari.
I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to bum you out.
No, I missed that. I had no idea. No, I really didn't. But which is elevator up, elevator down. Like, who in the last little while has made their case for the Hall of Fame?
Mm-hmm.
I got 2 quarterbacks for you.
Ooh, okay. For up or down, or one each?
One up, yeah, 1 each.
Okay.
So like, it's not even that I think that either of them are going to like do anything there, but I was wrong when there was a trade in terms of going to the Lions.
With Matthew Stafford.
Yep. So Matthew Stafford has gone elevator up. Jared Goff elevator down.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because before you get into it, I'll just say Stafford was a guy who everyone was like, he's amazing. He's just playing with the Lions. And if he was not playing with the Lions, he'd be amazing. And guess what? He's not playing with the Lions, and he's amazing. He's way up there in passing yards too. Like, he's the only player in the NFL right now who I'd say has a legitimate shot of catching Brady. And by legitimate, I mean within like over 10% shot of catching Brady. Just how, based off his age, how many yards he has. Now, Brady never retires. That's a whole separate thing. But like, he has a legitimate shot at least catching Marino and Manning and maybe Breeze, because they're done throwing footballs, but who knows? So,
well, you've done everything that I wanted to say.
Oh shit, I'm an asshole.
But it's so true. When that trade happened, my thought was, nah, it's not that big. But it was. But it was. So congrats on that. So like in terms of Goff, man, the Lions are so bad. Thoughts?
I mean, the Lions are really bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've joked about. I know if a joke about. We talked about with the with Calvin Johnson that he shouldn't. Well, I have a friend who believes that Calvin Johnson. Sorry about that. Sometimes these things on my screen just automatically start playing.
All good.
But we joked that, or my friend said that it's ridiculous. He's a first of all Hall of Famer, not because of his talent, but because you could write the entire history of the NFL without him because he never played an important game in his entire career.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The Lions, in my lifetime, have won one playoff game. I am 42 years old. They won that playoff game when I was 13. No, I'm saying they won that playoff game when I was 11. I was 11, 1990 is when they won that playoff game. It is a sad sack of a franchise, right? And in a certain level, you can't blame. I mean, I guess you could. I actually kind of like Dan Campbell, their coach, wanting to bite their kneecaps and going for it on wins and doing anything he possibly can to win games. Unfortunately for the Lions, this is not a good draft coming up here for quarterbacks. I look at CBS's early mock draft for 2022, and the first QB they picked looks like the first QB picked at the moment is number 20 by the Saints, which is tough. So I don't even know what they're going to do. They need to rebuild that team all the way around. If you want Goff to hold the clipboard for another, or hold the football for another year when you're not going anywhere, fine. But they need to completely rebuild. So on that level, I can't do anything about it. All right, I don't want to blame Goff for it, but that team has just been awful. And it's amazing to see how much better this Rams team is. I think the Rams, whoever wins, I think the Rams and the Buccaneers are the two best teams right now in the NFL. I know the Bengals are 5-2. I know the Bills have looked good a lot of times. But I think the Rams and the Bucs are the two best teams in football. And whoever wins that NFC, I think they'll get the NFC Championship. Whoever wins it, I think is going to win the Super Bowl. So,
all right, fair enough. So that's my elevator up, elevator down, and all right.
The good, the bad, and the ugly. Yeah. So I want to start with the good. And I want to praise one of the greatest American athletes who basically called it at least an international career this week, or actually yesterday. Carly Lloyd, 17 years with the women's U.S. Women's national team. She's most probably best known at the 2015 Women's World Cup final. She scored 3 goals in the first 16 minutes of the World Cup final. That's not bad.
Pretty good.
But she has 2 World Cup titles, 2 Olympic gold medals, played 315 career games, has 134 career goals. That's his 3rd most in the history of the women's team. She played a little bit into the second half of the U.S.'s 6-0 win against South Korea in a friendly they had yesterday. She was called off the field, took off her shoes on the field, got hugs from her teammates, carried them off, and went from there. But just class act all around. First American to score in 4 different Olympics. She has 10 goals in the Olympics, which is a record for U.S. players. It just good for her. Congratulations your career. Congratulations everything you did for the U.S. national team. yeah, just good luck with whatever you do. She's 39 years old. She could do whatever the heck she wants. She gave everything she had U.S. national team, and they were better for having her there. So
So Carly, like in your opinion, like the number two player in the last 20 years?
last 20 years.
Yeah.
Probably. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, she's probably up there. I would, if you're making a Mount Rush, she has to be. When I think about it, if you're making a Mount Rushmore of women's U.S. soccer team, I think it has to be. I'm trying to think who the fourth one would be. Then I think she's the third one. So I think it has to be Michelle Akers, Mia Hamm, Carly Lloyd, and then you can debate over the fourth one, whether you want to put those are because they're all none of those guys are defenders or ladies are defenders. Whether you put a defender or a goalkeeper or somebody else there, I get it. But yeah, I'd say she's on the Mount Rushmore, so she's got to be there. I mean, Alex Morgan's got to be up there. Rose Lavelle will probably someday make a name for herself on there. Your favorite player of all time, of course, has an argument for being there, seeing as she was World Player of the World. But you could also go into like Brianna Scurry was super important in those early years. Hope Solo, for much as she's a head case, was super important to some of those teams before she bailed on everybody. So there are a whole bunch of people who are in the conversation, but I would say Carly Lloyd's comfortably on one of the top three of those four heads on the Mount Rushmore for women's soccer, at least over our lifetimes. So that's a good. I kind of have two uglies, but one's uglier than the other.
Okay.
So I'll start with the ugly and the way uglier. And the ugly is going back to the NFL. And the NFL's got problems right now. They don't want you to think they've got problems, but they have problems. They're trying to cover up the Washington football team report, which we've been talking about. We all know at some point that's going to leak. And when that leaks, I really hope Jeff Pash gets what he deserves out of this whole thing. And more heads will roll, because I can't imagine the only people whose head rolled in this whole thing was John Gruden, which is dumb. Didn't even play for that team or had nothing to do with that team, right? They're investigating Washington and they get the Raiders coach. Congratulations, right? But the bigger thing, I don't know if did you see that what happened with Stan Kroenke today?
Not today. What happened?
So the NFL supported Stan Kroenke's move from St. Louis to Los Angeles, right? And he made a promise as part of that he would cover all the legal fees that the league had happened at that point, right? And he backed out on that today, saying he's not going to cover the legal fees that teams are undergoing. And teams like the Patriots, Giants, Cowboys, anyone was on the moving committee have had millions of dollars of legal fees because they've been required to turn over 8 years worth of emails and phone calls and records about this move. So they're like the Patriots and Cowboys and Giants, at least, all have like over $10 million of legal bills out of this thing. And he's trying to back out on it. So there's a whole bunch of stuff going on in the background there. They still have the concussion stuff they're not handling very well. This is getting really, really awkward for Roger Goodell. I know Roger Goodell's job is to take bullets for the shield, but he is, it's not good. And there's going to be a lot of stuff that's getting worse. It's getting to the point where someone's going to throw somebody else under the bus and this whole thing is going to leak like anything. All the crap is going to come, all the rats come scurrying out from underneath the garbage truck, right? So that one's bad, but I want to spend more time with the ugly. And that is, again, I'm a Boston sports fan living in Chicago. My team lost in 2013 to the Chicago Blackhawks in the NHL Finals. The Chicago Blackhawks scandal may be bringing most of the NHL down, in my opinion. What's going to happen? What got leaked today is really, really bad. Here's a random question. Did you ever see the 1999 movie, The General's Daughter?
No, I haven't.
Do you remember that movie at all?
No.
Okay. So General's Daughter starred John Travolta, investigating the murder of a daughter of a general played by James Cromwell on a military base. So there's a point at which John Travolta has arrested James Wood, which is just a good idea in general most of the time. And he's putting him in jail. And his character, he said, what happened back when she was in the, at boot camp or in the academy? And he says, it was awful. And he said, what was it? She violated code. She cheated. She lied. What? And he goes, it's worse. He goes, drugs, worse. Rape. And Woods comes up and goes, worse. And Travolta says, what's worse than rape? And Woods says, when you find that out, you'll know everything, won't you? Right? What's worse than rape is denying rape ever happened. Is what happened in that movie. So denied rape ever happened, and everything hinged on that, right? The report coming out on the 2010 Stanley Cup champion Chicago Blackhawks paints a picture where one of their draft picks and he came out today saying that that he felt like he needed to come out and talk about everything. His name's Kyle Beach. He was their first round draft pick back in 2007. So for the playoffs, he never played a game in the NHL. He played preseason games, but never played a game in the NHL. In the 2010 playoffs, he was called up to be one of the Black Aces, those guys who have the ability to play but are sitting and watching. Essentially, they could call him if necessary. During that time, he had in his opinion, and from what the report found, a non-consensual sexual encounter with one of the video coaches on the Blackhawks.
Mm-hmm.
The Blackhawks were informed of this, had meetings about this, and decided not to do anything about it.
Right.
As a matter of fact, Joe Quenneville, is quoted by Stan Bowman, who did get fired, saying that Quenneville didn't want to do anything about it because it would disrupt team chemistry heading into the playoffs.
Right.
This information was known, was discussed, and nothing was done with it. To make matters worse, and this is why this is still going and why it's a bigger issue, that same guy went and had another issue with another prospect of the Blackhawks before he got shipped out with a letter of recommendation from the Blackhawks to Miami of Ohio Redhawks, who nothing happened at Miami of Ohio. He was only there 5 months before moving on to Michigan, where he raped a 16-year-old kid.
Yep.
Like, what are we doing here? This in general. Let me back up. Let's talk about the U.S. Women's Olympic team again, gymnastics team. Okay. They did this massive cover-up for a doctor over their athletes. Like, this is one of their top draft picks. Kyle Beach was a number 1 draft pick. He was number 7, I think, overall.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah.
If he's either 7 or 11, I always get those numbers mixed up because it's 7-11. Thank you very much. But he's either 7 or 11 overall draft pick in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
They would rather get their video editing coach over one of their top draft picks. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing as a society? And to make matters worse, Beach went to the NHLPA. Don Fear had meetings about this. Don Fear had meetings about the other guy who doesn't want to come forward, who also had issues with the same coach. Don Fear didn't do a goddamn thing about it. Joel Quenneville coached tonight for the 7-0 Florida Panthers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's having his hearing tomorrow with Bettman. You know who my least favorite hockey player is of all time, of my lifetime, right? It's one of your favorites.
Ric Flair.
What?
Ric Flair.
No, hockey players.
Yeah, Ric Flair.
Ric Flair is a hockey player?
I don't know.
No, Sean Avery.
Okay, yeah, okay, sorry, my bad.
So Sean Avery told an off-color joke in the locker room back in 2008. And
Mhm.
minutes before the hockey game that he was supposed to have a meeting the next day with Bettman, he was not allowed to play. There's no reason that Quenneville was coaching today.
Mhm.
The assistant GM, whose last name I cannot pronounce, who's now the GM of the Jets,
Mhm.
also gave us something like, I didn't know what was going on. He was in the meeting. Like the only people like Nick Boynton, former Bruin, who was on that team, came out and said everybody knew about this. Everyone in
Of
the
course
locker
it
room knew
did.
about it.
Of course it did.
Duncan Keith says he didn't know.
Uh-huh.
Jonathan Taze and Patrick Kane were both on the COVID list while this was going on and got off the COVID list just in time before skating tonight in Toronto.
Mhm.
So they didn't have to talk about it.
Mhm.
Elevator down, perhaps for Jonathan Taze. As a young man compared to a young Stevie Yzerman, ended up not having the career or the captaincy standards, apparently, of Stevie Yzerman.
Fair enough. And I agree.
It's this whole thing. And again, if we find out Bettman knew and didn't know anything
Of
about
course
it,
he did.
but there's nothing in there officially yet that Bettman knew. But if Don Fear goes under the bus, you want to bet Don Fear has no problem throwing Bettman under the bus. That'd be his greatest achievement, is throwing Bettman under the bus.
All right, very true.
So I don't know where this goes. And again, I'm one of those people who firmly believes that conspiracies, when they get out, people get punished, and the NFL one hasn't come out yet. It will eventually. This is not good. This is not good for the Blackhawks. This is not good for the Jets. This is not good for the Panthers. This is not good for the league. If at the minimum, the guy whose name I'm refusing to say, just by the way, during this thing, I know his name, I'm just not saying it. His name's on the Stanley Cup in 2010. There are other people whose names have been X'd out, just had X's run over it. I have no trouble with putting X's all over the video coach's name on that Stanley Cup. Fuck him. Right?
Yeah,
But
no, I agree.
But the rest of the NHL, this is going to send shock. And the NHL knows better. Don Fear knows better. This is not the first time this has happened.
Okay,
Teo Fleury,
they
they learned nothing
better
from
because
Teo
they can
Fleury.
get away with it.
Yeah, but they learned nothing from Teo Fleury whatsoever. Like, it just, I mean, he was, if you go back and search Kyle Beach's name prior to this, you go back to this, most of them are how Kyle Beach is the biggest bust draft pick in Blackhawks history. I wonder why.
Right.
So I don't know what's going to come of this officially. It would shock me if Quenneville is employed later this week, particularly since John Tortorella is living in Miami at the moment. So it would shock me if Quenneville's even at 7-0 still there next week. I'd be not at all surprised if Don Fear hangs for this too. But this is super bad. If we've learned anything, it's that the cover up is almost always worse than the crime. Like, everybody would be fine if they just turned the bad guy in. And instead, they wanted to protect their cup run, then still didn't turn the guy in. And then he allowed him to go someplace else where he sexually assaulted at least 3 other people, including a 16-year-old kid. WTF. Which, of course, is also an anagram of WFT, which is the NFL team in trouble. So, which is hilarious. Why, with how bad that franchise is recently, we have the Jests. Although the Bengals are, who knew? Just getting guys who played together in college, getting the quarterback and wide receiver, get them together and see what happens.
Hey, no argument here.
So, but anyway, so that's what I have. Stay tuned on this. It's just not good for the Blackhawks. At least you're going to strike the name of that. You just strike the name of that one dude. There's absolutely no reason not to. And the rest of them. Here again, one last thing. Here's the one last thing I'm going to say about all of this.
Please.
About there's the rumors about what's going on with the Suns right now as well, with sexual harassment complaints against Donald Sarver, the owner there.
Mhm.
There's everything going on. The one thing they will find about all this, all the people who end up hanging for this are not the owners. Donald Sterling's the only owner who's ever really faced any sort of consequences for bad behavior, right? So all these folks, even if they get rid of Bettman and Fear and Quenville and Bowman and all, I mean, Bowman was the general manager of USA Hockey for the 2022. Like, even if they get rid of all of these guys, the owners are still there. The Wirtz family still owns that team. And the Wirtz family allowed the culture to happen that allowed this to happen. I don't know how we end up changing that, but something needs to change in sports all over, because this is happening again and again, where you're covering for low-level employees over the people who you're really supposed to be protecting. So
Yeah,
that's all I'm
over and
saying.
over. Yep.
That's what I got.
All right. So with that, are we calling it an A?
I think we should call it a day.
All right. All right.
All right, man. Stay safe, everybody.
All right. Take care, man.
Take care.
All right. Bye.